For the last 4 months, I've been doing most of my YouTube video editing work on the Mac Studio behind me, and it's mostly been fine. It does most of the stuff that I needed to, although there's a recurring issue that's getting really annoying, and I want to solve it in today's video. You see, whenever I want to copy large video projects over from the external NVMe drive that I'm using at the moment to my NAS, the Mac throws a massive hissy fit. Some days it would copy video folders over fine, other days the copying would crash halfway through the second folder, and then the bad days where it just crashes pretty much 3 seconds into starting any copying process. It's very annoying, and it means that sometimes when I need space on my external NVMe, I'm at the mercy of the mood of my Mac Studio. So in today's video, I want to try and figure out what the problem is here so that, it stops doing it. Today's video is sponsored by Be Quiet's new gaming mouse, the Dark Perk. Available in both ergonomic and symmetrical forms, this lightweight gaming mouse not only has a high-performance sensor in it, but it also uses high-quality Omron switches that are both satisfying and quiet. It also comes with this awesome orange braided cable. So if you need a high-performance gaming mouse, check out the Be Quiet Dark Perk using the link down below. Now the first step to figuring out how to fix our network issues with the Mac is by first getting the network set up again in the new office, which means we've got to find some Ethernet ports. I'm not sure where they are. They're not under here. I think power for this whole setup is coming from over there. So I really hope it's not behind that cupboard, because that's going to be annoying to move. Oh, yes, there are ports here. Okay, that's convenient. So let's move this out of the way. Okay, I'm sure I can move this thing without having the TV fall over, right? Like, I don't need to move it first. We did it! Now luckily, the network infrastructure in here seems to be a lot less ratchet than the previous office, although I don't actually know what kind of cable is running through the walls, so I don't even know if this networking is actually going to be capable of 10 gig Ethernet or whatever. I still need to move this thing. I don't know, do I just do this? It's stuck on something immediately. What is there possibly behind there for it to be... Oh, this cupboard's gonna kill me. Oh, I feel like I should have just routed it from the bottom. Oh, is it down? I think it's down. Is this good content? Like, just watching me struggle to get a cable behind a cupboard. So this is the state of the network cupboard. As you can see, things are going real well. I've got a loose motherboard here for moral support, I guess. But what is useful about this situation is we can actually see what the cables are. So we're currently working with D31. I think that's where I plugged it in the other room. So 31 is here, and around the back it uses the blue cables, which are Cat5e. Fuck! Okay, so I kinda don't know what to do now. That kinda throws a spanner in the works in terms of having the NAS in here, because I'm gonna have to like reroute cables and stuff if I want 10 gig connection between a NAS in here and with the Mac Studio over there. So I think what I'm gonna do instead is have the NAS in that room with the Mac Studio. I'll set up my 10 gig switch over there, and then I'll have connectivity between them that's fast, because that's the most important place that I need it. And then I'll run the internet from here to that room, which will limit it at 1 gig per second, which is a little bit slower than the internet that I have here. I think I have 1.5 gig. But it's still fast enough, and at least I have speed where I need it. So before dropping in my NAS, I decided to test D31 by hooking it up to my router, which went very well. Okay, well, this is already getting really annoying because I just can't get the Ethernet to work properly. Initially, I was using the cable that I routed behind there, which is, as far as I understand, a Cat7 cable, and I couldn't get any connectivity happening through the Mac with that cable. Then I switched over to this cable, which is a Cat6a cable, which worked for a brief, beautiful second. I did a speed test and got 1.5 gig download speeds. That happened, and then immediately after that, I just lost all connectivity, so it's not working again. Apparently that 1.5 gig download test just broke the Ethernet setup. Okay, so now I've replaced the Cat6a cable with a Cat6 cable, because I don't think I have a 5e cable that's long enough to make this connection. Okay, well, apparently that cable doesn't work anymore because it's that. Okay, now my next idea is to have all Cat5e cables until this point. Okay, so on the router side inside the cupboard, I've got a Cat5e patch cable. This is a Cat5e patch cable that I'm gonna run from here to the 10 gig switch. And then I'm gonna use this 6A cable to the Mac Studio. So hopefully this is enough of a interpolation layer or whatever that it fixes the problem. If this is even the problem, I don't know at this point. It didn't work. I tried every combination of cat cable that I had lying around, and despite the fact that the Mac said that the Ethernet was connected, I wasn't getting any internet through it. After about an hour of this, I decided to test the Ethernet in a laptop to see if maybe the Mac Studio was the problem. Let's plug this laptop into the same setup. Oh my god, it's the Mac that's the issue. I don't understand! I've been having intermittent Ethernet problems with this Mac Studio from the beginning. Ethernet's supposed to be the stable one. And it was the same thing with the MacBook Pro. The moment that I used an Ethernet dongle, all of these problems just started creeping in. Apparently macOS was just bullied by an Ethernet cable as a child and now refuses to associate with it. And somehow, what fixed the problem made me even angrier. Oh my god, it's the 10 gig port on the Mac Studio. That's the issue. This is the whole reason I bought this thing over a MacBook Pro was for the 10 gig port on it, and it's been nothing but a nightmare since I got the thing. And then you go on forums and stuff, and everybody's complaining about it. And that's such a common theme with Apple for me. I feel like when you talk to people about Apple, they keep saying how amazing and seamlessly all of it works. And then when I use it, I run into a bunch of problems. And every one of those problems I Google, it's just filled with forums of people saying like, oh yeah, that's a known problem. Oh, this one, that's a known issue too. Oh, this problem, yeah, everybody has that. Well, if there are so many known problems, then maybe it doesn't work as well as you say it does. Okay, with all of this shouting out of the way, we haven't actually gotten to the real problem yet, which is the network dropouts when copying huge files over. So for the network testing now, I'm gonna use this CalDigit 10 gig Thunderbolt adapter thing, and we're gonna add the NAS to the setup so that we can see how the file transfers work currently. Now I'm temporarily gonna set the NAS up in the corner here, which I'm actually kind of scared of doing because with my rock solid track record, there's a pretty good chance I never move this thing from here. But yeah, we're testing now and I need easy access to it for now. We finally have the network setup up, right? So I've got the NAS over here, and then this is this M.2 caddy, which I've had to plug into the front USB 3 ports because the rear Thunderbolt ports aren't reading it today. This is another problem I've intermittently been having. Some days they just don't feel like reading the caddy, another ghost in the machine. Maybe a different cable will fix it? It didn't fix the problem. I tried all of the ports on the back, none of them read the caddy, so I guess for the first copying over tests, we're gonna have to use the front, slower USB 3 ports because, well, my Mac Studio is having a bit of a mood today. And when I started copying over a 200 gig video project folder, I immediately ran into a different problem that I've been having, much slower network transfer speeds than I had with my Windows system. And it's not even necessarily the top transfer speeds that were the issue, even though those weren't great. The biggest problem was the massive inconsistency of transfer speeds, and the fact that it would just have big chunks of not transferring at all. Now on the bright side, the transfer hadn't crashed yet, which was the main problem I'm looking out for here, but either way, this sent me down another deep rabbit hole. Now the next rabbit hole had to do with finding an SSD NVMe caddy cable combination, which the Mac Studio didn't have a problem with, which was way harder to do than you'd expect. I started off by moving the Gen 5 Corsair drive in my heat-sinked caddy into this old Silverstone caddy, which has been super reliable over a very long time.
And that combination actually worked in the rear Thunderbolt ports, but unfortunately the Gen 5 drive got super hot in that caddy.
Okay, so now I have a different SSD with a different caddy. Oh my god, I touched it and it immediately stopped the copying over. Oops. But either way, it's going better, aside from the fact that I just killed it. But it was going better than the other drive, but still not amazingly. Oh my god, this is so temperamental. With the Linus cable and this dock, it was working fine. We still had the constant slowdowns and stuff, but it was working the most stably that it has to up until this point. And now I've switched over to this dock, which has a different drive in that I wanted to copy information off. And now the system just isn't reading it. It's not on here. So it's just like there's a very specific combination of like cable and dock thing that it wants to read. It's just so frustrating. So this is now the same Lexar drive in a different caddy. So I've moved it from the Ugreen one to the Terra one. And with the Linus cable, it's actually reading, but it's copying so slowly. Look at that. This stuff is so unbelievably temperamental. And look, it's just disconnected.
At which point I put the Lexar drive in the Silverstone caddy with the Linus cable, which worked fine, although I was still getting that very inconsistent copying speed, which made me think that something was overheating somewhere, so I started adding fans to various stages of the setup. I used some of these tiny, cute little Noctua fans on like the network card in the NAS. I also initially added one of those tiny fans to the M.2 caddy.
So this is by no means the most elegant solution. I did buy a USB fan controller thing, but I forgot it at home. So this is what we're gonna have to do in the interim, is run this motherboard here so that we can power our little Noctua fan. Oh.
But that barely cooled it, so I decided to swap to a full-size Noctua fan under the SSD caddy and that 10 gig CalDigit NIC thing.
At this point, I have no idea what's going on anymore because I've added cooling to stuff. It copied over faster and more constantly for a while, and now it just can't find the external 10 gig card thing anymore. I've plugged it into different ports, I've restarted the system, but it just doesn't work. So now I don't have any network at all. There's gotta be something wrong with the Mac Studio, right? The thing is, like, I also think this switch is overheating because it's so hot.
Then I tried changing a bunch of network settings in macOS, which Google said would help. It didn't. But then I read that apparently the 10 gig network chip in the Mac Studio has some driver issues with macOS, which doesn't make sense. I mean, that's the thing built into the Mac Studio, but the CalDigit external card uses this same chip. So I decided to get a Thunderbolt SFP Plus 10 gig card so that I could switch back to my SFP Plus 10 gig network that I had before and had no issues with on my PC. But aside from the Mac Studio immediately recognizing the SFP Plus network and it producing way less heat than the RJ45 based 10 gig network, but I was still getting slow, inconsistent copying speeds regardless of what caddy combination I used. I also followed a bunch of suggestions on various network settings I had to change that would apparently fix the problem, but I still couldn't fix it. On the bright side, the copying didn't crash at any point.
Which means, after all of that, I was so busy struggling with various connectivity issues on my Mac Studio that I couldn't even reproduce the problem, which was the whole point of me making this video in the first place. Which I guess means I technically solved the problem, right? Oh! Yeah, I fixed it. Good job, me.